How are you? Boat is still floating. Boat is still floating. We are for us. For a couple of days. Was want to come, but he cancelled. He was in Marbella, come here. We come back 2 days. After we go to Capri. I don't like it. We'll see what's happening. You good? Ah, okay.
Pero bueno, por eso he venido para
Claro, sí, yo sabía. Claro, yo no sabía.
Sí, hace ya unos meses que estoy buscando un poco.
No me avisas, ¿sabes?
No, ya lo sé,
Ahora lo
pero
sé.
tampoco yo soy muy de pesado, ¿sabes? De ir llamando a todo el mundo.
Ahora sí. Next year. No, Yes.
Okay, right. Morning, everybody. Apologies for the slow start, but I hope you're all ready and enjoying breakfast. My name is James Van Brecht. I'm with Estela Shipping. I'm responsible for communications, and I write, among other things, the Why Yachting Itineraries book each year, and look after social media and such like. First of all, a bit of housekeeping. Just the bathrooms, in case you haven't been here before, they're just down the stairs behind the outdoor bar here. And if you wouldn't mind just putting your phones on silent, that would be appreciated. Right, so just to, first of all, before we kick off, we were just to introduce the panelists we have this morning. We're talking about all matters tax, chartering, TPA, and temporary admission, such like one other local legal issue around Posidonia as well. So we have a panel of very well qualified experts here. So to my left, I have Alex Julias of Tax Marine, Luis Ayala Navarro of the Port Authority of Melilla, who's the director there, and we have Jaime Darder, who is a lawyer with a service called Naughty Service, and is also the president of the Anavre Boating Association. Just a quick acknowledgement to everybody that's made this these events possible. So the key sponsors this morning, they are the Port Authority of Melilla, which is, well, you'll hear more about it very shortly, no doubt. We have Swiss Ocean Yacht Management, who are specialists in yacht management in all operational administrative elements of yachting. Begum Yachting, the largest yachting agent and charter agent in Turkey, in 7 locations between Istanbul and Antalya, including also a shipyard in Bodrum. We have Monen Yachting. Monen is probably one of the leading shipbuilders of semi-custom yachts in the Netherlands. We have Argentario Yacht Services in Italy, Kingsburg Cruise Support and Property Services, TAM Asset Management, specialise in asset management services for seafarers, Antigua Club Marina, and Alcadesa Marina in Gibraltar. Apologies if I've left anybody out, but I think more or less there. Right, so to introduce the panelists properly, so Alex Chumias began his professional career as a tax advisor in '97. He's been a director of a number of large firms and lectured on tax at universities and business schools in Barcelona. He founded Tax Marine in 2010, specializing in tax issues in the yachting industry. So he advises on transactions, investments, yacht purchases, audits, ownership, operational structures, customs procedures, yacht registrations. Climate has tax-related issues. What are people bothering you with most at the moment?
Good morning, everybody. To be honest, I don't have anything in mind, anything planned. So I will tell you a little bit how is my day to day and my involvement with my clients. Basically, our company is pretty much involved assisting companies in order chartering in Spain. And for those of you, I don't know if you are familiar with the procedures, but basically the way it works in Spain, somehow it's pretty much, well, we have certainly our particularities, but based on the changes in the EU regulations, please, James, if I go too long, you let me know. Okay, so basically, based on the changes in the VAT regulations, any commercial yacht chartering in the Med must get registered for VAT in order to collect VAT in the jurisdiction where the yacht is chartered, right? So that's the same thing that happens in Spain. Foreign owning yacht company must get registered in Spain. The particularity in Spain is that besides that tax registration, it is necessary to obtain a charter license, which basically involves to go to some sort of due diligence with the Spanish maritime authorities. I would say it's a due diligence based on the yacht certificates, yacht crew certificates. That's basically what the process involves. And additionally, Spain, it's a country divided in several regions, which they have their own competences. And in that regard, there are some regions which, in addition, in order to charter in that particular area, requires a local or regional license, as it could be the case of Balearic Islands. That's an overview on how the steps or the processes involved in chartering in Spain. In terms of changes, Luis will let us know a little bit later before, but the global, let's say, from a European perspective, the biggest changes that took place since last year is that France and Italy, basically, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there is a provision in the VAT directive called the use and enjoyment provision, whereby services rendered in the European Union but enjoyed effectively outside the territorial scope of VAT might benefit of a reduction of the same level than France and Italy from a tax standpoint. I wouldn't cover.
That's refreshing to hear. Luis, perhaps you'd like to introduce Melilla to people who don't know the city or its structures or the benefits of either being based there or clearing out of the EU customs zone.
Yes, if you permit me,
0.05 in Melilla is not going to pay any taxes.
0.5.
Sorry, 0.5 in Melilla. It's not going to pay taxes in Spain. It's not going to pay the taxes in France, and it's going to pay only a 4% in Italy because it doesn't have the same agreement.
Yes, in addition to that, junto con esto, lo que tenemos es que además nosotros, Melilla, está en materia de mercancías, en materia de yates, es como si fuéramos un tercer país, como si estuviéramos fuera de la Unión Europea, pero solo en esta materia. En el resto de materias es Unión Europea. ¿Eso qué implica? Eso lo que implica es que cualquier buque que necesita de bandera extranjera, que necesita cerrar el TPA, que necesita salir de las aguas territoriales europeas durante el periodo que le marca la legislación, puede hacerlo en Melilla sin salir de Europa y retornar a las aguas europeas sin ningún tipo de restricción y comenzar de nuevo el periodo máximo que permite la ley.
Well, as with a special agreement, it's like it's a third country into the European Union, and
Solo en materia de
it's only in yacht material or aspect. I'm sorry.
cuando retorna, cuando llega a Melilla, cierta el periodo, cuando vuelve a la española,
Well, it's talking about the temporary emission. And what it's do is when it's leaving Melilla, it stops the period, and when it goes back,
Start the
we
period
start the period again
from the beginning. Yeah,
at the beginning.
this is all for.
Okay. Let's hand over to Jaime. Jaime, you are probably one of our go-to legal experts here in all matters maritime in Balearics, wider Spain. So perhaps you can tell us what's vexing you at the moment, what's passing your desk right now.
Yeah, okay. Now, what we have different to Alex, was very tax oriented. I tend to hate that field, so I'm just more concerned in the problems which affect our floating toys and things that we do. Basically, what we do is we treat all kinds of matters regarding contracting and also planification of licenses and everything. Now, what kind of difference we have here now? What's happening now in Spain? What is happening in Spain is now they have approved some laws, some new laws which affect boats under 24 meter. I don't think there's anyone here, so we'll just not talk about that. And then when it comes to big yachts, the licensing process and dispatching process with the Maritime Authority has been simplified since last year. It's easier, although it increases the responsibility that the person doing all the paperwork for you has, because now we have much bigger responsibility in the sense that we are in charge of verifying, pre-verifying that all the info that we send to the authorities is okay, is right. Then that's one part of it. Another part is, which I think many of you might be quite interested in, is what is happening with the decree for the protection of the seagrass and what may happen if you accidentally anchor on seagrass. Maybe some of you or you all know that seaweed protection decree came in force a couple of years ago, and then the boat users association together with the Balearic boat sector challenged that decree, and we have partially won. It means that what we have eliminated from there has been declared null and void is all the sanctions, all the fine provisions that were in this decree, because they were declared illegal because they were going much further away than what the Spanish law says. So now the consequence of this is that Posidonia was already protected, but you could be fined if it was proven that you effectively damaged the seaweed. With the decree here, just the fact of anchoring on Posidonia will be an offense in itself. So now this is not there anymore. You can still be fined, but only if you really, really damage the plant, not if you are anchored on Posidonia because then they should need to prove that you have done it. But that's basically something which we are quite happy about, especially because apparently the conseller, the local minister responsible for the disaster legislation, apparently the conseller, the local minister responsible for the disaster legislation, said he's not going to challenge that ruling of the Supreme Court. So that's quite nice. And well, I'm not going to extend myself anymore for the moment. We are open to questions now. Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess it's particularly pertinent given how France has now completely clamped down on anchoring and creating, I think, something like 13 different regions with different rules, with different sized vessels. So we're finding quite a few captains now looking to avoid France altogether. It's a bit drastic, but it's an ever-moving landscape. Now, I have to confess, I'm totally out of my depth here when it comes to matters tax and charter. So perhaps some of our audience have questions, because this is your opportunity to get them answered directly from the people that know just about everything there is to know in that field. Anybody have a question?
I just wanted to probably to touch again on what Luis mentioned about this particular regime they have in Melilla. I think it's very unique. It's a great step forward for Spain. certainly Melilla has a special territory in Spain. It's outside the customs area, so it might be similar to the status that might have territory of Gibraltar. And the change that there was in the Spanish law early this year, basically, because I step back. First, when I mentioned about the use of the German provision, I said this is a provision, which is the VAT directive, which basically says that the service rendered in Europe and enjoyed outside Europe will be taxed reduced rates. The fact that it's enjoyed outside the VAT territorial scope. But there is another paragraph in this provision, which is the opposite. It says that the service which is rendered outside the territorial scope of VAT, but enjoyed within the European Union, can be taxed by the member states. And this is where it connects with the Melilla change. The point is that we, in Spain, we don't have the first part of the provision, so 20% start the mainland. But we do have the other part of the provision, meaning that a charter starting in Gibraltar would be taxed in Spain for the part of the journey taking place in the Spanish waters. However, the slight change that there was in early this year was that even if that charter started, well, in the event that charter starts outside the territorial scope of VAT, VAT will be applicable unless the charter starts in Melilla, Ceuta, or the Canary Islands. So that's the change. The change is that the use and enjoyment provision is not applicable if the charter is proceeding from one of these jurisdictions. Okay, and only the local tax in place in Ceuta, Melilla, Canary Islands, which is slightly different. I think it's 7% Canary Islands, 4% Ceuta, and 0.5% of the charter fee in Melilla will be the one applicable. That might clash with the approach or the view that there are in different member states, because the use and enjoyment provision, it is implemented in the local VAT laws of each member state. It's not uniform. So Spain does not have this benefit for charters starting in Spain, ending or entering into international waters, but we have the opposite part of the provision. It's applicable when it comes from outside the EU but enters Spain. France used to have reduced VAT taxation. If it started in France and entered into it might apply when the owning company of the yacht is based in a jurisdiction that does not have a tax treaty in place with Spain. For instance, Cayman Island, BVI, Guernsey, Isle of Man, any one of these, any commercial yacht owned under a structure based in any of these jurisdictions might be subject to Spanish income tax, 24% on the gross income, which is significant, right? Besides VAT, right? So any yacht owned by an entity based in a jurisdiction which has a tax treaty in place with Spain, Malta, all the European countries, or any other country which has signed it, a double tax treaty in Spain wouldn't be subject to that income tax. So that's another important thing to consider when chartering in Spain. There are ways to go around that problem, but it's something to keep in mind before starting operations in Spain.
In other words, if you're going to be chartering afresh somewhere shortly, speak to Alex first.
Permit me one question to Alex, please. Alex, maybe you can, like expert in the topic, maybe you can explain why in Melilla is possible that in Gibraltar cluster the TPA and not is possible, for example, in other territories or in mainland, and why is the benefit, why you can take advantage you do it in Melilla, please?
Temporary admission. Yeah. Okay. TPA is slightly different.
No, TPA it's not temporary admission. TPA it's tráfico de perfeccionamiento activo, which is in English it's translated as inward processing. It's a customs regime whereby it's not a customs regime expressly designed for yachts. I mean, it's a customs regime designed for non-EU goods. Customs regime designed for non-EU goods, which might enter into the European Union, suffer transformation, repairs, maintenance works, with an immediate intention to be re-exported outside the European Union, right? That's the principle of the inward processing, translated as TPA, Tráfico de Perfeccionamiento Activo in Spanish, which is something different from temporary admission, importación temporal, which is strictly related as well with TPA. Yachts that arrive to benefit from TPA in a shipyard in Spain, they will enter into Europe on the TA, on the temporary admission, and then they will switch to TPA to benefit from for the reverse. So I go back to your point. Why Melilla? Because, as I said before, Melilla is a special tax territory in Spain. As I recall, my taxation teacher, used to tell me, the Canary Islands it's a foreign territory, and Ceuta and Melilla it's very, very foreign territory, right? So it's like a kind of China, let's say, for the purposes of taxes. Not that far, but it is. So usually yachts, when one of the conditions, once a yacht has gone for works in a shipyard and benefits from inward processing relief, TPA, is that the yacht must be exported. So it means that the yacht must effectively reach a non-EU port, right? Which traditionally is one of the options in Spain is Gibraltar, okay? But it's the same thing with Melilla or Ceuta, right? It wouldn't work with Canary Islands. But so once the yacht has finished the works in the shipyard, it can go to Melilla, close the TPA, export the goods from the European Union, and then it is entitled to come back again into Europe on the temporary admission and benefit from the 18 months.
And Luis, other than the tax benefits, perhaps you want to sell Melilla as a destination. You know it probably better than just about anyone. So aside from the fact that it has financial benefits, what about things such as the tax treatment of fuel, provisions, and simply as a place to visit?
Well, first of all, Melilla is not so far like China. It's a little more near than China. It's only 300 now. This is a joke. It's only 300 miles from Palma, 350, 84 from the mainland. It's easy to arrive. You can arrive in airport. We have flights, direct flights from Spain, Palma, Barcelona, Madrid, Malaga. It's a very beautiful city. It's a very beautiful city to visit. I think it's a great city to be discovered for people, not only for foreign people, for Spanish people too. We have a lot of benefits, not only in the tax aspect. We have benefits in other aspects that people don't know. We try to explain. We are 2 years ago that we are working very hard to explain to the world these benefits and to be understanding that we are one option to choose, to be chosen when you want to do something. And the yacht sector is one of these sectors in which you can choose to Melilla to do your works, to do your calls, to do your time in winter. You don't want to move your vessel to Caribbean, your yacht to Caribbean. Maybe Melilla is one option. But we don't have only these advantages. We have other advantages. For example, the bunker is cheaper than the mainland. For example, now here the price of the bunker, the diesel is like 130, 140 more or less. I don't know. Is the price per liter, and in Melilla is like 0.75. Is more than 50 cents cheaper than the rest of the Spain. It's not enough. It's not enough. We are working to do cheaper because Gibraltar is lower than us, but I think we are in the good ride. We are in the good way to achieve this the same price as Gibraltar, and to be competitive, real competitive, in a real competition with Gibraltar. But Melilla is not only a city with low taxes. Melilla is a great city. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. A lot of people visit Melilla, but we have a lot of work to do because we are working very in national tourism, but we are not working. We are working with international tourism. We are working now this year with cruise ships and with special trips from other countries to Melilla. And I'm sure that in the future, in the near future, Melilla will grow up in this sector because it has a lot of things to give. Not only the city, the territory around him, around it too. For example, the north shore of Morocco is to be discovered too. Has a lot of points to be discovered. Has good cities to visit. Not only in the south shore, in the north shore too. Andalusia is to be discovered too in many respects. The great part of the market of the charter is here, is in the Balearic Sea, but we have the Alboran Sea too. It's other possibility in which you can visit 4 countries in a little place. You can visit Spain, you can visit the United Kingdom of Gibraltar, you can visit Portugal in the south of Portugal, you can visit Morocco in 150 miles. And I think it's a market to develop, and I really confidence in the Melilla.
Thank you. Yeah, if you want to know more about the Melilla as a city and the actual area, the Moroccan coast particularly, which a lot of yachts have not visited ever. In our latest guide, the Why Yachts Itineraries is a whole section on Morocco, all the way from Melilla to Tangier, and there's some fascinating places to visit. And people are always looking for somewhere new to go, so I definitely recommend you pick up a copy of the book if you don't have it already. There's some copies lying around. So, and also for Andalusia, the 2018 edition has a very comprehensive guide to cruising Andalusia. So you can pick those up from our stand if you're going to the show later. Now, the other thing I was going to say was we have a lot of yachts, of course, who ask us about closing their temporary admission, and a lot of sailboats tend to favour hopping across to Algeria, to Bajaya, where they do the usual bakshish and those kind of procedures, which a lot of captains, owners are increasingly uncomfortable with, especially given geopolitical events in the last few years. So Melilla, what does that offer in terms of security? If I say, well, I'm going to Melilla, it's I see on the news things about Ceuta, Melilla, it's on the Moroccan coast. Is it safe to come to Melilla? What are the security systems like?
Yeah, well, the problem with the south of Europe is the same problem in the south of Spain, south of Italy, in Greece is the same problem. Europe is the continent where every people want to go. The quality of life is very high, and we have a lot of people living around our continent who want to arrive. One of these possibilities is the south of Spain, and obviously Melilla is in the south of Spain. Like we are in the south of Spain, we have a lot of people pass through Melilla. Well, unfortunately, the lucky that we have is the city is very small, and like it's very small, it's very easy to protect. And historically, Melilla always was a very safe city because it's only 12 kilometers square. If you can imagine Palma with a little fence. We are already Palma. This is Melilla. It's not more. 12 kilometers square, 85,000 people living there. With 90,000 people living, and only 12 kilometers square, it's very easy to guard it. It's very easy to protect it. Historically, we don't have a lot of problems. The real problems are in the sea with the little boats that go from the north of Africa to arrive to the Spanish shore. Well, I know that in television, in TV, or in the news, it's very spectacular to see people crossing but it's not one circumstance who appear a lot of times. The problem is when appear one time, it's very easy to take the image, to take the picture, and to put in all the news and to put in the TV and in the. But I think it's not the real, it's not the reality of the city in Ceuta too, in Melilla too, in Canary Island too. The normal situation is that the two cities are very safe cities, or ratio of problems, vandalism, thieves, robbery is very low. It's like a little town. It's like a little town when you go to out of Palma, you go to Soler or go to Alcudia. It's very similar. It's the neighborhoods with the people who lives in the city from the decades, centuries. And you can smell, you can try the flavors of the original lifestyle of the people who lives in Spain without this tourism so hard. They so tourist pushing, changing your society, changing your activities, your normal activities. And in Melilla, you can until you can smell this old aspect in Spain that you can found 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah, great. I should also add that so we weren't allowed to photograph in the security centre of the Port Authority for the guide, but the systems in Melilla are absolutely state of the art and stronger than just about anywhere in Spain. So in terms of security around the port, it's as high as it possibly can be. So it's a very safe place to go in terms of yachting. Jaime, anything to add that we would like to touch on?
No, I don't think
Okay.
that's really anything. So, I mean, and is there any questions?
Any further questions? We have one at the back of the.
Hi, good morning. Probably to Alex. What are the possibilities, if any, in Spain, of course, for owners wanting to operate their yachts in dual use? So, in the context of VAT-paid yachts, right? So, an owner.
Well, that they are willing to consider the possibility that private commercial yachts might be chartered for short periods of time. So that would be that's something that apparently they are as well considering. But to be honest, at the moment, today, it's something that we haven't seen. I have to say that, answering your question, that I mean, if a yacht is VAT paid and it's commercial compliance, and somehow, well, I think it's a matter that should be tried with the authorities. I mean, if I don't know what's the situation in Malta, but presumably there might be a similar situation as it happens with the Cayman Islands or the Marshall Islands, where a yacht holds a private registration, but it's in compliance with the commercial standards. It might be a possibility to try to the Spanish authorities. I don't know what they, maybe.
In Malta, from a registry point of view, you'd be able to switch between commercial and private registration for the period of time on which the owner is on board, for instance. So
All right.
you won't have a certificate which allows you to do both, but you actually switch on short notice between the two.
Okay, but in that case, what you're doing is that you are presenting a commercial registration to the authorities at the time that you are applying for let's say, a charter license. My point is to be in possession of a private certificate of already in compliance with commercial standards, and then apply for a charter license, which is slightly different. It's much more in line with what the JET scheme, how the JET scheme works. Jaime, I think you want to add something.
Yes, it's just to confirm what Alex said. Actually, we as an association have proposed changes into the registration system, maritime registration system in Spain, and one of them is to eliminate the distinction among private and commercial use, so that all yachts are registered in one single list, and then they go they can go from commercial, so switch realistically between one activity on the other. They are really considering it because they want to simplify things. Don't know if they will be able to on time, because just as an example, the rule I mentioned before, which I was not going to comment, but just there is something very funny that has happened, is that after 10 years after it was announced and agreed between ANABRE and the Spanish administration, the life raft inspection has changed. From 1 year to what the manufacturer recommends. That is, we agreed this 10 years ago, it switched the law now. So this is how fast our authorities are. So maybe by the time we manage to get this, none of us will be working. We might be all retired, but maybe we are lucky to get it before.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the panelists? Remember, they are going to be around for the next couple of days or so. So if you'd like to get in touch with any of them, either you can see them after this morning's session, or come and find them via the stand, or we can put you in touch. So if there are no further questions, one thing I need to do, I'm a terrible host. I did this last night at our dinner as well. I omitted a couple of names from the introduction, so I need to also thank Naughty Paints for all the good supporters of our events. Coral Marine, which is probably the finest yacht agency in Ibiza, with whom we work closely. Tema Petroli, with its worldwide fuel and lube network. And last but not least, AYSS, of which we are proud members, and is designed to elevate standards in our industry, which can be shady in parts. So thank you to them. Thank you to you all this morning for coming. We're here again tomorrow morning. We're talking all things Brexit, which will range from UK owned, UK flagged, UK crude, immigration issues, importation. So again, we have some other experts on that front here tomorrow. So hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow, and I wish you a great day at the show today. Thank you.